2 months, and ended up taking down the 3 people that were responsible for all the theft down in our area. Nonetheless, the property crime continues to be one of our biggest concerns in the area, and we're also going to look at some of the petty theft within town. We're hearing lots of rumors about gas theft lately. We did have a rash of about a week where we had, within the town of Hannah here, we probably had 4 nights in a row where we had multiple thefts. We figured out who the people responsible for. They've since left, and the members actually arrested 2 people, and charges have been laid. We just haven't put that out in the media yet for other reasons. So we are definitely looking at property crime. We are doing very well with property crime, even with the rash of oil field theft. We're trying to reduce our property crime by about 26% this year. Unfortunately, when you look at our relatively low numbers compared to last year, we're probably up about 340%. So we've already lost on our priorities for the year. And when I talk that we're up about 340%, I'm talking probably about 10 thefts in total. So nonetheless, I don't want the numbers to be tracked away from the work the members have done here. Crime reduction unit arrested those 3 people. That was huge for our area. The members here went out and proactively arrested 2 people that were stealing copper, and we believe were responsible for all the petty thefts and gas thefts that were going on probably about a week ago. So although there's lots of social media talking about thefts and things that have happened recently, they're all true, but we have also hammered the bad guys and the bad girls. So property crime remains up at the top of the list. There is the next one that came up, and this one isn't surprising. It hasn't come up before, but drug trafficking, drug abuse, substance abuse, and things like that. That came up as a big one, both in the stats that were compiled, as well as in the comments, the free form comments within the staff collection that Lori set up for us. So drug trafficking is and substance abuse is also one of our priorities this year. And another one that came up, and it is getting exaggerated by COVID, is the Traffic Safety Act. So speeding, stunting, racing, mufflers, that kind of thing. We're starting to see that kind of go through the roof, and complaints with regards to that have really increased over the past month or so. That is our top 3 priorities for the year. I will just touch on our crime reduction. This is our goals. We want to reduce the oil field theft. Sorry, we want to reduce the oil field thefts by about 7%. We're already losing that. So we're not going to achieve that by the end of the year, but nonetheless, we've had a huge success with crime reduction units takedown. So we want to reduce the drug trafficking. We're looking at doing search warrants. We're in the middle of an investigation right now that the members are working on that plays directly into that. We're looking at distracted driving, vehicle equipment regulations such as exhaust systems. We're going to start educating people on exhaust systems, proper and adequate exhaust systems. We're going to educate them for another month or so here, and then we're going to start enforcing it. Speeding and stunting, we've already dealt with a significant portion of that. We've laid some dangerous driving charges with regards to some street racing. We just recently laid an impaired driving charge as a result of a video that surfaced on Snapchat, and impaired driving and dangerous driving as a result of that. And I'm starting to hear some feedback from the group that we're targeting, which is the youth up into the early 20s, that they're starting to feel the squeeze a little bit. So we're going to continue going that direction, and hopefully we can continue to squeeze and get some better compliance and reduce the collisions and injuries within the town of Hannah, because I think the hunting and the treatment.
We are losing your audio a little bit, Trent.
Sorry,
That's fine.
can you guys still hear me right now?
Yeah, that's good.
Is it when I turn away that you're losing it?
No, it was just that last few seconds, but no, it's been okay.
So the bottom line is property offenses, drug and substance abuse, and traffic are going to be our priorities for this year. That's what we're going to focus on. We've identified that the town of Pana has some significant driving issues right now, and we've also noticed that there's a significant increase in the theft within the town of Pana. So we are working on all of that, and we're going to, I think, pay a little bit more attention within the town itself. Public engagement. Sorry, Mr. Mayor. Public engagement is still maintaining or remaining a priority with us. Town meetings, we're going to continue to try to do town halls once the COVID thing hopefully lets up a little bit. And we want to try to get out. We did 1, 2, 3, 4. We did 5 town halls of public engagements this year. I think that's probably more than has ever been done in this area. And we're going to try to continue to get more of those in before the end of the year. So public engagement is huge within the RCMP right now. We're really pushing and they're pushing that hard. So, that's all I have as far as the stats. So I'd open the floor up to any questions or comments about the stats themselves, any concerns about anything that are any of the comments that are on there. There's some good comments on there. So
Okay, yeah, that's good. I think what we'll do, just on my screen's different than everybody else. I think I'm just going to give each counselor an opportunity to ask questions if they have. That'll just save me trying to look at all the different people. So we'll start with Councillor Olson, followed by Councillor Deadlock. Councillor Olson?
Yeah, I just want to make a comment. I mean, it's pretty easy to pick your priorities, what you guys are seeing, what everyone else is seeing. I just want to make note, I was born and raised in Hannah. It's been a lot of years since we've seen as many members involved, whether in uniform or out of uniform after hours in the community. And it's, you got a couple good members now between Riley and Rock. I mean, it was only a few years ago when I was told I'm not allowed to call them by first name in prior members. So it's been quite a change in culture. And I think that's going to be a big difference with kids growing up and being able to talk to them when we see members personally. And I mean, that's going to be a big culture change, a big improvement. So that's all.
Good comment. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Councillor Olson. That'll take us to Councillor Deadlock, followed by Councillor Campion. Councillor Deadlock.
I have no questions or comments. It's a good report. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Councillor Campion, followed by Councillor Stickle.
Just great job on the survey thing and the presentation that night at the hall, Trent, and all the best to you guys. You're doing a great job.
Man, yeah, that was too quick for me, Brass. I was still writing. So,
Oh.
Okay, that takes us to Councillor Stickle. Then I have Councillor Bowden.
I would just like to say, keep up the good work. Keep our town safe. Thank you.
Excellent. Councillor Bowden, and then Councillor Jensen.
I'd just like to say thank you as well, Constable and or Sergeant, on all the work that your staff is doing. My apologies. I have a question. I'll just say, sir. I have a question regarding the arrests and then the releases of some of the people that have been arrested. Is there any future in the court system being a little bit more diligent and instead of just a slap on the hands, your staff go to all the trouble and diligence in getting finding the criminals, and then they're released back into the community. And it seems a bit frustrating, I imagine, for us, and I imagine doubly so for your own staff. Do you have any comments?
I do, and thank you for asking that. That is becoming that is becoming a huge issue right now. And Health and Crown are really butting heads over this. And I'll give you an example. Crew came out, we identified that we had a significant issue with a group working our south area on the oil field. They were stealing the softness. And we identified that. We obtained some information. We did some work. We got crew involved, got the suspects identified, and they ended up for about just over 2 months. They worked this crew, and this crew is believed to have done over the past year over $1 million in damage to oil sites and windmill sites, and we figure that they made probably upwards of $200,000 in profit. Now, these people were arrested after a 2.5 month investigation, doing all that damage and making that money. They were.
We lost your audio a little bit there again.
Whereabouts did I lose you at?
Just like 10 seconds ago.
So these, bottom line is these guys did a ton of damage and made a lot of money, and they were released. And I'm guessing they're out there stealing copper again. So we understand that there is the revolving door has become an issue within the policing community. We understand there's a problem. I'm trying to get Crown Counsel and public prosecution to come out and speak to the people and explain how the system works, because I can't be explaining their end of the process anymore. It just doesn't work. So there is an issue. They know it. We know it. I don't know when the fix is going to be. And COVID is now become the excuse for all of it. So I wish I had an answer for you to say it's going to get fixed soon. I pushed this at every town hall that I had, and I've asked people to get in touch with their representatives in the legislature and try to bring this forward so that it can get addressed at the levels that it needs to. But you're right, huge issue.
And I'm just wondering, with the loss, all the businesses are struggling, and especially the oil field. Well, I'm sorry, everybody, but the oil field are the ones that are being victimized, and they're having to also then address additional expenses to repair and everything else. And there doesn't seem to be any opportunity to recover some of the, some of their loss of revenue, as well as expenses to get back into business again. So there isn't any opportunity for that as well, is there? The copper that was recovered, can these businesses sell it and actually, recover some of their expenses in the process?
So the companies that are hit are obviously, they're fairly well-to-do companies. So although they might have a $10,000 hit at the one site, it's not an overall big hit. So as far as COVID affecting these, where these copper thefts are targeted, COVID has a very limited effect in that regard, if I'm understanding your question properly.
Well, I'm just, it'd be nice to have an opportunity to recover some of the expenses that, the criminals have incurred against these businesses.
I think the problem there, yeah. Okay, go ahead.
And I think the issue there is, although we believe they've made $200,000, it's finding it now and getting it out of them. And in most cases, it's blood from a stone, right? The court can order as much money in restitution as they want. If you don't get it from the person that's convicted, there's no use in it.
Yeah.
But yes, they should be getting that money back. I agree.
And
Thank
that's where insurance comes into. I know it's not
Yeah.
an answer, but that's, it's a sad reality. So
Yeah.
But yeah, nope, that's good. Any further questions, Councillor Bowden?
No, thank you very much.
Okay, I just want to ask all councillors if you could please mute if you're not actually speaking, because I'm getting a little bit of a slap back, like an echo of the speakers. So if you can mute if you can, thank you, appreciate it. Okay, that takes us to Councillor Jensen.
I just wanted to say thank you. I appreciated all the information on the report. It was very thorough and detailed, and I have no questions.
Awesome, thank you. And for me, I just want to say I have had some feedback regarding the town halls. Folks are really happy. They had a chance to have input into the process, and I think, like I said, I'm glad to hear that you guys are going to continue with that type of format. Once this COVID-19 thing ends, hopefully sooner than later. But I'll just give you an opportunity if you have any closing comments. This is a good time to do it.
Councillor, I think it was Councillor Olson mentioned about getting in with the youth and stuff, and that's been noticed. We've noticed that as well, and I've used the example that I walked through school here 3 years ago with another member, and one of the kids ran into the corner and started crying. So that was kind of a flag that we needed to get in there more. Constable Marlowe, Constable Clendening were brought up in her comments, and I appreciate that. I will make sure that gets back to them, and you're not the only one to mention both those names. So we really do have a stellar lineup of members at this detachment. They're hardworking, and they've been going now for I don't even know what time it is anymore, but they've been going for quite a while on this investigation. They're going to be going for quite a while yet. So thank you for the comments. I appreciate it. We're going to continue to do the best we can, and I will make sure that your positive comments get back to the detachment.
Excellent, thank you, and hopefully next time we do this, we'll be able to do it in person again.
I agree.
Although these are efficient, it's not my favorite format. So thank you again for taking the time to come and share with us today. I appreciate it.
Lori, thank you again for doing that.
Yeah, and no disrespect if you want to just sign off with that, you won't offend us. That's fine.
I'm going to have to. We've got something on the go here, but thank you, Mayor and Council. Have a good night.
Thank you. Yeah, you too. All right, I'd entertain a motion. The council thanks Sergeant Spurley, the Hannah Detachment, for the presentation of the policing survey results and the update on activities of the Hannah RCMP Detachment. Thank you, Councillor Bowden. All in favor? And that is carried. Okay, that takes us to 3.02, Hannah Business Hub, the summer patio proposal. I would entertain a motion that we'll just go to whoever is going to speak to this. I don't know if it's Mark or Tammy. I think it was Tammy, but I may have my wires crossed. So you can both unmute and just have at her if you want. Welcome. And I'm going to open the floor to you.
Awesome, thank you. So yes, I'm going to speak, but Mark is here to support me as if he has ideas or suggestions and additional information to feed into this as we go. So first to clarify, and again, thank you for taking this at such short notice right at the end of last week when the package was going in. Appreciate that. So the package that we submitted was a kind of a two-phase proposal, and I want to make sure that that's clear in what I sent in, that we have kind of two steps we'd like to propose. The first one I'm going to refer to is parklets, and that is the one where we're looking at doing outdoor seating outside of individual businesses. And so the reason I use the term parklet is actually the city of Lethbridge uses that term, and I've been going to their site a lot for information because I really like the way they presented it. So the Business Hub is proposing this for our own benefit, obviously, is that we'd like to put this out in front of our business, but we're hoping that we can act as a platform and kind of a pilot initiative so that, we kind of work through the awkward first steps and get it going so that other businesses can take advantage of it as well and roll with it from there. And so what the parklet entails is the seating out in front using the parking spaces in front of the business with with some sort of blockage barrier to traffic that allows the businesses to have seating outside. It's pretty self-explanatory. So, what we're proposing is to add 3 to 4 tables with chairs out in front of our business with, again, some sort of barrier to the traffic on Main Street. We would like to do this 2 days a week in addition to the Fridays that we're proposing on the next phase of the proposal. So before I go on, I would just pause and ask if anybody has any questions about the first phase.
Okay, just hands up. Okay, I see Councillor Deadlock and then Councillor Bowden.
I just have a quick question, Tammy. Have you guys checked into the cost of insurance for this?
I
liability?
have, but I have not heard back. So I have actually put in 2 requests to our insurance provider specifically for information, and they are waiting. They had to go up to the adjuster level to ask. When we did more snooping again into how the city of Lethbridge does it, and you know, I keep going back to the city of Lethbridge because I like how they've set it up. Am I able to set up share my screen at all? Hoping I do. I'm looking at Lori.
Lori's
Lori's
good.
nodding.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to try and share my screen here. There we go. Again, I'm picking on Lethbridge because I really like how they have set up their system. Let me know if you guys can see this. They have actually already put together a handbook.
Tammy?
There's nothing.
No.
Oh, okay. Share screen. Oh, host is disabled participant sharing.
Was that you, Lori?
So Tammy, I have a question. Is it the picture you want to show part of the package you sent in where they're sitting on the streets with the bright flowers or
Yeah,
bright?
I know which one you're talking about. No, I was actually going to show the city of Lethbridge's handbook, but that's okay. I can just refer to it.
Okay.
That's all good. So what they have in theirs is they actually have where one of their requirements is that along the businesses along with their insured has added, help me out here, Mark, I'm going to say this wrong because I can't pull it up, but it's the they've added the city of Lethbridge as an additional Kim's nodding his head. He knows what I'm trying to say here. Yes. As an additional user on their liability. So that's what I've asked about of our insurer, and I'm hoping to hear back within the next couple of days as to what that would look like. Connie.
Yeah, because my concern was because it is town property. What is it like for other businesses to get insurance for that? Is there going to be a huge cost? Can small businesses afford to do that? That was kind of my concerns with it.
Yeah, so that's how they've addressed it, is that one of their requirements is that the business has to add, it would be the town of Hannah as an additional insured under their liability.
Okay.
So I will look into that specifically and I can get back to you on that. I was
Perfect.
hoping to have an answer by tonight, but I don't.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Hey, Councillor Bowden?
Hi, Tammy. I was just wondering, these parklets, would it be for the 2 blocks or the just the 1 block that includes the hub?
So this first phase for the parklet is just right directly in front of the hub. So the 3 parking stalls that are directly in front of our building.
But as far as being able to allow other businesses to add on if they want, would that also include in the 2 blocks?
So that would, so with the parklets, the idea being that if the business hub can work through with the town to get it approved, so the business hub can do it and identify what the requirements are, work through, then we would share that with other businesses so that if they so choose to do so, they can follow the same steps.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, so I think to clarify, can you hear me? Is that?
Yep, yeah, we're good.
Okay, sorry. Having computer issues today. So yeah, I think to clarify on Councillor Bowden's comment is any business would eventually be allowed to do it, whether it's, I guess, the 2 blocks of downtown or another business, they would have to go through the same application process to the town. So the hub would be a test run and then allowing other businesses to follow suit if it worked out.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Okay, any further questions on phase 1? I don't see any, so Tammy, you can continue.
Sure. So then phase 2, which is this kind of a separate conversation, would look at, this is where it would be blocking off the entire block here in front of the hub. So that's 1st Street to 2nd Street on 2nd Avenue West, with the intent of doing it every other Friday, starting at the end of June, hopefully. We would be looking, the hours we've identified would be 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. And blocking up the street would then allow businesses to have seating out in the street without having to do the parklet idea, potentially having other vendors come on the street, just really encouraging that foot traffic and street use by our community.
Just like the good old days for some of us old enough to remember that.
Just like the good old days, or really, and the driving factor, the kind of the instigator behind this was looking at the strategic plan that Hannah put together, and one of it is block parties, food trucks, live music, and kind of looking at how can we do that with our businesses. And the reason we identified Second Avenue West right in front of us here is, and want to start with the one block, is to keep it small as a pilot to see how it goes. But this is a block, with the most food vendors. So to encourage people to come and sit and eat, drink, have a nice tea out front and enjoy the summer. There is additional parking behind this block with the Town of Hannah parking lot and the special areas parking lot. So, we looked at it saying, okay, if we start with this block and see how it goes, there might be the potential for expansion, or maybe we just need to use one block and just encourage people to keep walking down to our retailers. So that's really kind of why we identified this space.
I think the easiest way to think about it is it's the light up parade, except in the summer. So how the town blocks off the 2 blocks downtown, this is 1 block, of course, but the same thing for the light up parade, block the streets off and allow people access to walk down.
Yep. Gotcha. Councillor Olson, you have a question?
What are I love the idea. I think it's cool. What are the requirements and restrictions for some kind of standing special event liquor license for something like this? I got a strong feeling you've evaluated this, and I know for a building it sucks, but.
Well, so we have not evaluated what the liquor license requirement is for outdoors. What we would be looking at is if there was a business that wanted to have outdoor, liquor sales or, liquor consumption, thank you, that's the word I'm looking for, outside, they would have to follow the same permits and approvals through AGLC that they would otherwise. So where we would facilitate the larger event, like the coming together of the community, that's really what we're doing, like giving the kind of the foot traffic space. It would be the responsibility of the individual business to identify the site outside of their business and then follow all the permits they need through AGLC. We won't do that for them. We would maybe assist them how we can, but that's up to the responsibility of the business.
All right, thank you.
Councillor Campion and then Councillor Bowden. Councillor Campion, you're muted, Stara. Thank you.
Yeah, I was just trying to unmute the thing.
Okay.
Yeah, Tammy, I'm wondering what, you obviously consulted with the Chamber of Commerce on this, but I wonder why you wouldn't include both blocks on Main Street.
No, that's a good question. And I've talked to Brandy with the Chamber of Commerce, and you're not the first one to ask. We've had other people come and say, why wouldn't we do both? The consensus here at the hub, so not just myself, but those that we've talked to here at the hub, we kind of threw it around with the entire idea behind the hub is the brainstorming generation, right? And we looked at, if we go too big, we start with 2 blocks. And if there isn't really 100% business buy-in, and if there isn't a full engagement by businesses, then it's kind of a failure. And it's a little bit easier to have more people in a smaller space and get that energy and that vibe, which I think the town really can use right now. A little bit of positivity, a little bit of fun, that good energy. And if it's successful, there's no reason we can't expand to the second block, right? But I would rather see that positive energy and that success. I'm sorry, I just realized that Councillor Olson has a Tiger King behind him. And it's really distracting. But in a small space, if that makes sense for us, kind of started off smaller where there's more room for additional parking behind and around the street, as opposed to cutting off parking on 2 blocks where maybe some of our businesses aren't quite open yet on the other block. The other consideration we had is that not all of our retail are on the second block. So there's a couple other retail stores that are even farther past that wouldn't be included anyway with the second block. So, to try and mitigate for that, what we would do here at the hub is go to those retail businesses on the block, like I said, be the next block to the east, and encourage them to have specials, sales, things that we can now advertise on big billboards in front of the hub or on the actual physical barriers that are closing the street, saying, don't forget to go down the street and visit these guys with these sales going on. Right, so we can still encourage people to walk down the street and visit them without having to physically barricade off that block. I would love it if our problem was it was too successful, we have to grow and expand another block. I would love to come to you in a couple of weeks and say, I'm sorry, now we want 2 blocks closed.
Yeah, I just am concerned about the other businesses in there because I know during the, as an example, the light up parade and that, there's a lot of them really get out and support that thing. And I would like to see all businesses on Main included here.
Absolutely. And we have no intention of not including them. We are just going to look at maybe doing that a bit differently.
And I think, Russ, Tammy did kind of indicate earlier that, this is a little bit of a pilot project, I believe, just to see how it'll work. A good example is even my business, maybe I bring down some plants or whatever it happened to be, pick a spot and, in a future rendition of what this is. I think it's a great plan. I think it actually goes right along with our strategic plan, with what Doug Griffiths has even talked about on a little different vein, but kind of similar to what he had talked about. But yeah.
Well, I never said that it wasn't a great plan. I agree that.
No, yeah.
All the good luck with it, Tammy and Mark.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, Councilor Scarpion? No, good. Okay, Councilor Bowden.
I was wondering what would you want the town to help with? Like, would they be involved with helping close off the street as far as concrete blocks, or just the wooden barricades, or what would you like to see sort of help with, as far as town staff participating in?
Well, ideally, yes, of course. I mean, that would be great. But I also, recognize that depending on the day and what's happening, staff could be busy and you may not have the resources to assist. So when we had discussions with the business owners on the block to take their temperature and ensure that they were on board with it, we did say, there's likely going to be need volunteers to help do different things, and everybody's on board with helping. So, in a perfect world, yes, we would love for the town staff to help set up the barricades and take them down. If the resources aren't available, at least have them out and available so we can either set them up quickly and easily or put them away, whichever. Or just direct us to how they need it done so that we're making sure we're doing it properly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any further questions? Oh, okay.
Kim's
Kim, of
waving.
course. What a shock.
I usually don't wave or wait my turn, so I'm trying to be patient.
And I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, Tammy and I haven't discussed the inner workings, but simply we would have no problem at minimum supplying the barricades, having them, in the locations where they need to be. Then whether it's an organizer we would just use the wood barricades. They would put them up when they're done at the end of the night. Typically, we've been fortunate. We've just been able to set them to the side of the building and they've been fine. We've had no issues with that for previous things. And I guess the other comment, we certainly would want to work with the hub in terms of promotion of the event, getting people out there. And I guess if there's another area where we can help, certainly we'd be willing to sit down with the business hub and see if there's a role we could play, because certainly we want to make sure it's successful.
Okay, great.
From my point of view, Tammy, I think the only pushback you may have, and I see it all the time, people don't like to walk. So you have neighbors, not so much on the east side of you, but on the west side of you, Western Financial Group, obviously, having that set up and your stalls virtually blocked off people are going to park in Western Financial. So whether people will be upset about the fact that they can't park in front of Western Financial now, I think that would be probably your biggest issue, in my opinion, because it's going to put people out. They're going to have to walk an extra 30 feet. And it is the nature of it. I see it at the store all the time. People don't want to even walk across a parking lot, which is 25 feet. So I think, I would say probably just to be a little proactive, to even have a conversation with those neighbors, if you haven't already, just to say, this is what we're proposing and this may cause some of your customers may be upset. That'd be my only caution. I love the idea. I think it's great, but I can just see that would be probably your biggest complaint.
Fair enough. So I have reached out to everybody on the block, either via email or verbally, and asked for feedback, especially any explicit concerns. With Western Financial, it was email. So I will definitely follow up so we can have verbal conversations. It's hard sometimes with the door being locked right at the moment, but as if this moves forward, then we will definitely have much more engaged conversations to make sure everybody's aware and whatnot. we're prepared for that too. We know that that's a risk, and that's why, hopefully people can utilize the early morning hours prior to the barricade going up. We can try and make sure that's communicated that,
Yep.
come down.
And that's exactly why we have pilot projects, to see how it works. So that's great idea.
That's right. And that also speaks to, the concern that was raised, not just here, but previously, about why did we not do 2 blocks, is just if there was going to be negative feedback about lack of parking on 1 block, it would probably be double negative feedback of 2 blocks.
Right.
So start small and get bigger.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah. I just want to make sure I covered everything, and I just want to open it up to Doreen and Mark if I missed anything with respect to either the parklets or the phase 2 with the full street.
Mark?
Thanks. Yeah, no, I think Tammy covered it. For me, it's more about the overall attitude and the feeling around town. And this isn't necessarily just COVID related. We all know what Han has been through in the last 3, 4, 5 years. And I really think the town needs something to hold on to, something positive and a festive atmosphere to get out there. And whether it's business or just residents, getting out and interacting again, and something to show some positivity and some energy. So for me, that's what both programs are all about. Both phases is just getting people back out and saying, hey, there is good stuff going on. There are pilot projects. There are interesting things happening in Hanna, and it's well worth it. So that's what it's about for me.
Awesome. DeRay?
Yeah, I just want to take the opportunity to congratulate the Business Hub team on putting the proposal together in this initiative. I'm very excited to see it come to fruition. And folks that are concerned about walking, we'll just remind them how much walking it takes to go around those big malls. So it's a wellness opportunity for our community. And I think with the right atmosphere and the excitement, I think it really will be a draw, and I think there'll be few naysayers, and we'll talk to them, we'll make them part of it. So I'm really excited, and well done Business Hub.
Okay. Councillor Bowden?
I was just wondering, I think there are probably quite a few people who aren't even aware that we have a parking lot in town, and maybe with signage and starting signage maybe in advance might start getting people realizing that, we do have parking, and that is, maybe a bit proactive in getting people used to the idea of going somewhere off Main Street to be able to have that access. It's also exposing, bumper to bumper and other businesses that are on that parking street, for business as well. So I think maybe some signage might be able to help start with an initiation. Just a thought.
Any final comments, Tammy, Mark, or DeRay? Oh, my screen just changed. No? Okay. Thank you. Awesome. Okay, thank you so much. I would entertain a motion then that council thank the representatives of the Hanna Business Hub for their presentation to council regarding the summer outdoor seating proposal. Thank you, Councillor Dedlock. All in favor? And that is carried. Awesome. Thank you very much for your time. Enjoy the rest of the evening, unless you want to stay and spend the next hour or so or two watching us debate. No disrespect. If you're leaving, that's fine. That's good. Thank you, folks. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
I was just wondering timeline for council's decision.
We do have it as an agenda item later on in today's agenda.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. Okay, that takes us to item 4, public presentation. I see by video we do have Debbie James is on. Debbie, did you have anything for presentation? I don't know if we can, I don't know if Lori might have you muted, or if you can unmute. If you do have, okay.
No,
yeah.
I don't have anything. I was just kind of just wanted to hear, on Facebook and all that kind of stuff, you hear all these negative rumors and stuff like that about the pool. I was just wanting to listen to what you were going to say about going forward in phase 2 with what's happening there. And I just wanted to hear it firsthand instead of just kind of going through all the secondhand information that we have. So that's
Excellent.
why I'm here.
Perfect. Thank you. We are going to. We will have a bit of an update on that a little bit later, but yeah, no, I know the province announced their phase 2, moving it up pretty late today. Of course, they just ruin our timeline. So
Oh, I know.
we will have a
exactly.
discussion though. It's not, I'll put it this way to you for sure, that the pool is not opening this weekend. It's
Oh,
gonna,
no,
it does take some time, but we'll definitely have that conversation for
No,
sure.
just wanted to hear it firsthand, that's all.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you for joining. You must be really bored.
Oh, really, just really nosy.
No, that's fine. That's why we love having people joining us in the meeting. So thank you.
Okay. Thank
Okay,
you.
you're welcome. Thank you. Okay, that moves us to items 5.1 and 5.2. Item 5.1, I would entertain a motion that the minutes from the regular council meeting held May 12th, 2020 be adopted as presented. Thank you, Councillor Jensen. Any errors or omissions? Seeing none, I will call a question. All in favor? And that is carried. And I would also entertain a motion that the minutes of the council meeting held May 27th, 2020 be adopted as presented. Thank you, Councillor Stickle. Any errors or omissions, questions? Seeing none, I will call a question. All in favor? And that is carried. That takes us to financial reports 6.1. I would entertain a motion that council accepts the check our accounts payable check listing for general account checks 40645 to 40735 for information. Thank you, Councillor Campion. Any questions regarding the accounts payable? Councillor Bowden?
I had just a question regarding the cleaning for June, actually May. And I think I know the question or the answer to this, but the last payments or expenses for cleaning was $600. March.
Councillor Bowden, can you give us a page number of the?
I can give you the check number.
Okay.
040651.
Mr. Mayor, it's to Pam Berry on the very first page.
Yep, gotcha.
So the answer, Councillor Bowden, is as you guessed, we have Pam coming in doing some additional cleaning every day on just disinfecting high touch point areas through the office. So she's coming in an extra hour on Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and doing that. So just another little bit of a safety precaution. So
yeah, I'm just wondering. April was $1,000, May $975, and the office was closed for the month of May.
Yeah, we were still doing it we still had her come in. She basically started probably first part of April, end of March, kind of, even though we were closed, staff were in the building. So it was just a precaution to have things touched up every night. So.
Okay, that's just that's all I had.
Mr. Mayor, I do want to just point out, and it's on, I believe, now I got to find it. You probably saw it. It's on the fourth page. It's the check to, where is it? Check to PlayQuest Recreation. So just to confirm, it is $166,000. We are going to be the banker for the spray park project. So they can save the GST on the project. So we've paid their deposit. And then what will happen is we're going to invoice them for the amount that's owed on that. And we're probably going to take off each check a percentage of what our commitment should be, because we still have our dollars in reserve. So for example, we might invoice the spray park committee for $120,000 on this and use $40,000 of our own, because we've got the commitment of 100 right now. So we're acting as the banker primarily to save the GST.
Okay. Any further questions? All right, then I will call a question. All in favor? And that is carried. That takes us to item 6.02, statement of revenue and expenses. I would entertain a motion that council accepts the statement of revenue and expense report for May 2020 for information. Thank you, Councillor Stickle. Any questions regarding the accounts or the statement of revenue and expenses? Seeing none, I will call a question. All in favor? And that is carried. That takes us to item 6.03, the budget overview. I would entertain a motion that council accepts the budget overview for May 2020 for information. Thank you, Councillor Olson. Any questions regarding the budget overview? All right, then I'll call a question. All in favor? And that is carried. Wow, just rolling right along. We don't have any committee reports in this council meeting, so that takes us to senior administrative officials report, and we're going to go right to our illustrious chief administrative officer, Mr. Neal. I will turn the floor over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of things. The community generation capacity building program, just wanted to let you know we have got an extension. So on the project, we had asked to September 30th. We've got an extension till August 31st. So we've got a few more months yet to finish up some of the activities that were planned. And I know there's been some challenges working with ATCO and getting ATCO to participate at the time frame we need them to participate on some of the studies. But we did get an extension till the end of August, so that should bring us certainly very close. The other thing I wanted to touch base on is just the, I guess, the value or the importance of the Highway 9 project to the town of Hannah. Being able to receive, 50% of the millings that are coming off there certainly is going to be an advantage to the town. That product can be used very similar to gravel in alleys, in infill, wherever. It's going to be a big pile. As you can tell, at 100 meters long by 50 meters wide by 8 meters high, it's going to look like a little ski hill out there, but certainly it can be valuable material. So certainly respect having the opportunity to have that material. And the AMSC energy aggregation, just wanted to clarify for you guys, we had intended to be part of it. Going through the paperwork with the program, basically the product that we've been on and most people are on is a block purchase arrangement. So you purchase power on a block for 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, and it's based on your load. When we're trying to figure out our load, depending on if we move forward with solar or not, and I know that's still a question yet to be determined. If we did move forward with solar, it would have a significant impact on our load, and thus we would be purchasing power that we're not using, which then goes back into, is sold back into the grid, and depending on what price you buy it at and how the price changes, you run the risk of purchasing power at a higher rate and selling it at a lower rate. So in discussions with them, we've basically pulled out of the aggregation. We still have power contract till the end of 2021. So we can certainly go back out in 2021 if nothing's changed and purchase the same block. We may not get it as part of the aggregation, so the price could be a tiny bit higher, but then who knows, if power changes, it might still be the same rate the aggregation got or a little bit less. So I don't think it's a big risk one way or the other, but it just wasn't working well with the potential of solar. And as you've seen in the Director of Community Services report, we did get some grant funding, so we will be looking at replacing lighting in the arena as a #1 project, which will again probably have a significant difference in our load. So so we haven't moved forward there. And on the rental side, Reality Bites has come forward. They've paid for the rent for the month of June, and they are hoping to be up and operating by the end of June, first part of July. They are recruiting for staff, so that was a positive sign. And the airport suite, it looks like we do have a strong potential for a tenant there, so it may not sit vacant very long. So I just wanted to update you on those, Mr. Mayor, and answer any questions council may have.
Okay, Councillor Bowden, I see your hand is up, and then Councillor Olson.
Regarding the community generation capacity program, and the discussion or somewhat consideration of the Truman property downtown, I'm not really sure that that would be a very attractive contribution to our downtown revitalization, and just wondering if it could be any solar panels not be considered in the downtown area.
Certainly, Councillor Bowden, everything's up for discussion at this point, and that was just an option that was presented. They were trying to find the ability to provide solar to primarily the special areas building. You know, I just had mentioned that lot. In further discussions with them, you know, they would certainly like it to be closer to the special areas building. And I know one of the objects or one of the priorities we're looking at there, if that project moved forward, was maybe there's the ability to put a carport style solar over their parking lot. It's a little more expensive to install it that way than just a typical ground mount. So all options are on the table, certainly. And I think the closer they can get it to the special areas building, obviously the better and the easier it is for them. So no, by no means has there been any concrete decisions made, and certainly all options will be brought to the table as we move forward.
Yeah, and we had discussed that with the info session as well, and I did bring it up then. No opportunity to put it on the roof, or is that will not support the roof?
They try to stay away from the roof as much as possible. Then if you have to do roof repairs, then they're in the way, and so ground mount is typically the best. So there's a few options in that area, and we'll look at all of them, and there'll be pros and cons with all of them. And like I said, it'll still be a decision whether at the end of the day, council wants to move forward even with any parts of the solar project. So.
Okay, thank you.
Solar project, you know, it is what it is. It's just, it was the seeing where the best resources are. And one problem with the Truman lot is the contamination there. It's just about impossible to sell. And I don't disagree with you. It might be an eyesore, but I guess if you did it properly, maybe it could be done well. I don't know. But I don't disagree with you. But then again, if it's just going to sit there the way it is, that's not all that attractive either. So that'll come to council's attention when and if somebody wants to develop it anyway. So
yeah, and I think there's also an opportunity to set a building on the surface without having to go into the surface as well. So there are the fact that it's been used for music performances and that sort of thing. I think it's a nice attraction for the downtown area. So thank you.
No problem. Good, thanks. Okay, Councillor Olson, and then Councillor Jensen.
I don't know when, I guess, the appropriate time is for that phase 2 discussion. I know a lot of it's going to fall under Gwen's portfolio. I mean, she's had a few hours. I'm sure she's got it staffed and pool manager lined up. And but I mean, I don't know when the right time is, when we should have had it as an agenda item, I suppose.
Well, Councillor Olson, we had intended to further that discussion, and I don't know the number in front of me. It is actually 9/5 when we talked about the COVID operation plan. So that certainly will be an opportunity to discuss the new information we received this afternoon. So
I would suggest because it's COVID kind of related, we'll discuss it at that point in time, if that's okay. Okay, good. Councillor Jensen.
Okay. I just wanted to share that I have been approached by a community member with regards to the solar project on the Truman lot, and they were very much not in favor of that.
Okay, that's good to know. And that'll be, again, before any development happens on that, that'll be up to council to decide. It's the town property. So nothing has been decided. It was just identified as a potential location, if I understand that correctly. Correct, Neil or Kim?
Yes.
Thanks. Good. Okay. Any further questions regarding Mr. Neal's report? All right, thank you for that, Kim. Appreciate it. That takes us to 8.02, Director of Business and Communication, Director Armstrong.
I don't have anything further to add. If somebody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Councillor Bowden?
Sorry, I have another question. I just had a comment regarding the mobile menu for the website. You indicated in your report that it's not working satisfactory. Was that set up by 13 Ways?
Lori?
My apologies, I couldn't get my mute to work for whatever reason. Wrong button. The website, for the most part, as you see it, yes, it was set up that way by 13 Ways. I had the discussion at the time with the developer that I wasn't pleased with it. I didn't like how it managed. I believe that the menu isn't very accessible. In fact, our website as a whole isn't very accessible. So it's been a huge learning curve for me. And I have found some good resources in terms of individuals that I can ask questions of for best practices. I'm finding I'm getting a better response there from the initial developer with any questions. So it will take some time. I've been told that there will be an update coming that will provide a better format for the mobile menu. So I'm just going to kind of hold off on that for a few weeks and hope that that's what happens.
I'm just wondering, we've paid for that service, and if that service is not satisfactory, should they not be doing the research and everything else versus you spending your time doing that sort of thing?
It's me that is finding it not satisfactory.
Mr. Mayor, just to further up with that, the website was a portion of the strategic plan project that we went through with 13 Ways. Lori and I've had discussions with 13 Ways, indicated that, we weren't necessarily 100% satisfied, but, we maybe should have done a little better job on the proposal side. The proposal was very short and sweet, and, they felt they lived up to their part of the agreement, and we really didn't have anything that said they didn't, even though we weren't necessarily 100% satisfied. So we've kind of sort of parted ways. I know Lori still does have contact with the initial developer and some of the people involved, but we have basically just moved away and said, we don't really have a leg to stand on. They have one position, we have one position. We're just going to move forward and get it done. It is taking more of our time, but it's not worth getting into a big altercation or legal proceedings to get them to complete what we thought, because like I said, the proposal was probably should have been a little more detailed, and it was quite thin. And that's how Doug's proposals are, and it's come back to bite us a couple of times.
So are we looking at any more work with 13 Ways?
No,
we don't have anything scheduled right now, anticipated right now. Certainly if the town's moving forward in an RFP or something down the road where they're provide services, certainly they might be able to bid, but I know that, there is some concerns that we have that we'd want to make sure that things were done, at least up front, a little more thorough and a little more detail, definitely from the experience we've had. So
kind of disappointing.
Yeah, that's the typical of consulting. In my experience.
Yeah, I've had some experience with consulting as well too. And,
yeah.
And if we're not satisfied, it's at our expense. So.
Yeah. And web design it's no different than graphic design. It's subjective, I guess, is the only thing I can say about that. And I don't disagree, but it's always something that's morphing and changing. So it's something it's ongoing. It's a living type of document, I guess. So
Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to Lori does have it in her report, and it's not necessarily Lori, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention that we do now have the ability to accept e-transfers. So just another form of payment. We'll be promoting that option, and I think we've already had some people, that's how they do business these days. And as soon as they heard e-transfers, you know, we started getting a few in. So just wanted to mention to you, if you're talking to people, you know, it's just another form of payment that we can receive and may work better for people. So.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for that. Thank you, Director Armstrong. That takes us to 8.3, Director of Community Services, Director Snell.
Thank you, Mayor Warwick. I do not have anything further to add to my report. The only comment I would make is that sometimes I feel like a cat in a room full of rocking chairs. There's been a few different changes, which we'll talk about in the COVID update. So.
Okay, any questions for Director Snell? Okay, I'll just make one comment. Again, thanks for the visuals. Man, that pool was gross. I'm glad I don't work in that department, going down in the hole and cleaning that out. That's kudos to your staff. They do a great job.
We didn't have to worry about the 3 foot or 3 meters distance when our staff got a boot full of that and had to come in and have a chat with us in the office. We kept a good distance from them at that time.
Exactly. Awesome. Okay. Thank you for the report. And then we'll hear a little more from you during the COVID update. Thank you. It takes us to 8.04, Director of Protective Services, Director Moe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have nothing further to add to my written report. The weather has not been cooperative as far as yard maintenance has been concerned, but I did issue quite a few notices and did some remediation on a few yards. There's still some to come in depending on when I actually sent letters out to individuals, but a lot of them, of course, are the usual suspects, which would be absentee property owners. So continue to work with that. Trailers have been a little bit of an issue, and so for the most part, given a notice on there, they seem to fall into line and get them off. So that's basically what I've been concentrating on. With the rain that we've had, it seemed to have slowed things down a little bit, but hopefully we'll get caught up again and keep things moving forward. So that's basically what I've been concentrating on, and some of the other properties that have been issues, and seen a little progress on that, but not as much as I'd like.
Okay, awesome. Any questions for Director Moe? Councillor Bowden?
I'm just wondering about the CN property. Is that going to be addressed in decent time?
Yeah, I hope so. I have got 2 new contacts that I'm planning to send some information from. I have created a couple of visuals to be able to send up to them. Unfortunately, the same contact number that I've been trying to use over the years is the one that they put as their main contact, which is the general CN contact number. But I do have names and some email addresses attached to it. So I'm hoping I can get a little further down the line. As usual, they send out an information thing to municipalities that have active railroads that go through them. And their basic largest concern, of course, is their active railroad lines, not necessarily their abandoned. So we'll keep hammering away at them and see if we can get some action this year.
So could they not follow the same protocol? Give them the whatever you follow as far as your notification, and if they don't respond, do the work and send them the bill?
Yeah, we can do that.
Before it gets to be a fire hazard. I know we've got lots of moisture now, but the growth is quite a bit stronger. Plus the weeds are also spreading to other areas.
Yeah, it's the weeds that I'm generally concerned with more than anything else. And I'm hoping that's what I had identified. and am attempting to impress upon them that we need to get on top of that. So they send a crew out to do weed and right-of-way maintenance, but like as I said, they're generally concerned with their active right-of-ways and not their abandoned properties. So
Yeah, and I don't believe they were addressed last year at all, were they?
actually, I tried to contact the same people that I had when we had Trivita do the work and got no response back.
So if we could go ahead and do that, that would be nice to address it. So
Yeah, I want to.
the growth there is over probably 5 feet tall or 4 feet anyways. That
I want to try a different tack this time and see if we can break through the barrier there. And with it, the 2 new contacts, got one in Edmonton and then one down east. So we'll see.
Thank you.
And I may just suggest, I know Jay Slemp does have some other contacts for the CN. So if you're not getting anywhere, I think that may be a good avenue too. Maybe reach out to Jay, Director Moe.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, no problem. All right, any further questions for Director Moe? Okay, thank you for that. That takes us to the Director of Public Works, Director Olson.
Mr. Mayor, I have nothing further to add to my report.
It's just, yeah, what a shock.
I got an email saying that you didn't want us to talk, so.
I tell you did not get that. Any questions for Director Olson? Yes, Councillor Bowden.
I've had residents, and I realize the moisture has been an issue around behind the post office. If that alleyway would be able to be addressed as soon as possible, with residents driving up and down that area as well as businesses, the delivery and that sort of thing. So I just had a resident ask if I would bring that forward, so that's all I'm doing. Thank you.
Not much you can do until it firms up. I know that from experience from behind my my business. When it's soft like that, there's just nothing you can do until it dries up. And of course, it just gets to the point and then it rains some more. So that's Murphy's Law, and it's okay.
Yeah, I realize that. And once it's dry enough.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, that's good. Thank you for that, Director Olson. I would entertain a motion that council accepts the senior administrative officials report 8.01 to 8.05 as presented for information. Thank you, Councillor Deadlock. All in favor? And that is carried. That takes us to, oh boy, I lost my spot. Yeah, 9.01, 400 block 2nd Avenue West infrastructure. I would let's get the report first. Mr. Neal, you want to speak to this? I'm just going to mute.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, still been hanging on, waiting for some sort of announcement from the province on some municipal capital stimulus dollars. So I was a little cautious in not wanting to award the tender at this meeting. And so we reached out to the low tender, and they have extended their price and their tender until July 15th. So that gives us till our July 14th council meeting to make a decision. It is $630,000 project. We can swing it financially, but it does really, as I said in my report, I had 2 concerns. One being, if we do go ahead and award a tender tonight, and a week from now, the province has a stimulus program, that program would be considered ineligible because the tender has already been awarded. And the second concern I had is we can swing it financially, but at the end of the day, it does take a great deal of flexibility away from us. It would basically use all of our capital grant dollars up, and you know, if we had any emergent repairs or situations that came up, you know, it would be a challenge for us. We'd be pulling out of reserves, and you know, that's not the end of the world. But I'm hoping in this amount of time we buy ourselves a little more time, and the province does come up with something I did talk to our MLA on Friday when we were putting this together, and I think he's as frustrated as we are. He's heard the, discussions from the minister about this program, but he's been in their office and they're not giving him any information and saying they're working on it, they're working on it. I don't know if it was a situation where the minister overspoke and said something that maybe he shouldn't have or couldn't live up to, and is still trying to find a way to live up to that. So that's why I've asked to take it off for another month. Council's alternative is, like I said, we could go forward with it. What that would mean is we would allocate the $432,000 we had set aside for the community center. We would use our full allotment of federal gas tax for 2020, and we would use an additional portion of our 2020 MSI, which would leave us with very little MSI in 2020 to carry forward. So the other thing, and I know it drives the director of Public Works a little crazy, but I always comment and say that the positive with that block that we have issues with is we know we can shut the water off. And I know he's shaking his head at me now, but I know we can shut it off, and we do impact about 8 residences and a couple of businesses when we do that. And that's not the right thing to do, but it's not like we have to go back and shut down 4 blocks or 5 blocks to do it. And we can get to it. So I'm got my fingers crossed that between now and July 14th, maybe something will come forward. I think if nothing's come forward by July 14th, probably nothing's coming forward. Our MLA was going to continue to follow up for me and see if he could get me some more answers, but haven't got anything yet today. So that's why we're basically at this point recommending holding off till the next council meeting.
Any questions? All right, thank you for that update. I appreciate it. I would entertain a motion that council accept the 400 block 2nd Avenue West infrastructure project update report for information. Thank you, Councillor Bowden. All in favor? And that is carried. That takes us to 9.02 Marigold Library System Schedule C rate amendment. I would entertain a motion that council authorize the chief administrative officer to sign Schedule C of the agreement by and between the parties comprised of the Marigold Library Systems to take effect January 1st, 2021, which authorizes the per capita contribution of $6.24 in 2019 and 2020. Thank you, Councillor Jensen. Mr. Neal, you want to speak to that?
Just very quickly, the positive here is, as council can see, is they're holding their rates the same for the next 2 years. So I think that's a good sign. Not that their rates generally cost us a whole bunch on an increase, but they are holding them to the same levels that we are in 2020. So I appreciate that.
Okay. Any questions? Or Councillor Jensen, any comments?
No.
Okay, thank you for that. I will call the question then. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. That takes us to 9.03 Hannah Spray Park debris and rainwater control. I would entertain a motion that as the town of Hannah recommends that a debris and rainwater control system be included in the Hannah Spray Park, council authorize the Hannah Spray Park Committee to include the control system in the contract for the Spray Park, with the understanding that the town of Hannah will contribute the required funds from accumulated surplus to a maximum of $17,656 plus GST if the control system increases the cost of the Hannah Spray Park in excess of $400,000 budget. Thank you, Councillor Campion. Mr. Neal?
So, yeah, Mr. Mayor. So as you've seen, the Spray Park Committee has signed a contract with PlayQuest in the amount of $316,000 to build the spray park. So that's a tendered price. That's a contract price. The thing that is still left to compile is there needs to be some earthwork on the project. There needs to be obviously some concrete work done, some plumbing, electrical, and the building that will house the controls and the washrooms. So we've got approximately $83,000 left to, or the committee has $83,000 left to move those forward. We're not 100% sure exactly where that's gonna come out because there's not necessarily detailed quotes on some of the work. And some of the work is subject to donations, volunteers, some contributions there from some of our contractors. So we believe administratively that this would be an asset to have to the system. It is not required by public health, but it certainly would save on the long-term operations and maintenance cost of the tank or of the park. And I think the other thing that's more important is it provides more surety to the operation so that you're not down. That's the worst thing that you want with a spray park for any reason is on a 30-degree day, you have to say, sorry, we're closed for maintenance. The diverter will not guarantee we won't be closed, but it certainly will provide a level of assurance that we're keeping all of the debris and dirt and stuff out of the system and potential vandalism. I said right off the hop, if somebody wanted to be a vandal, and typically spray parks don't get vandalized, but if somebody wanted to take a can of paint and pour it down the trap, well, if without the diverter, that water's going straight into your tank, and I'm not sure how long that would take to clean it out and get it back up and operating. So if we wanted to move forward with it at the time of construction, if the group has money left in their budget, certainly that will go towards it. If they don't, then that expectation is it will be picked up by the town. And administratively, we feel that that will be a good decision in the long-term operation, which the town has assumed the operating costs for. So I think that's it, Mr. Mayor, from my perspective. We're certainly either Gwen or myself can try and answer any questions, or Kyle from the committee if anybody has any questions.
Councillor Olson?
Yeah, I'll just speak. I know the vibe may be, I want to make sure to council and to the public too, this isn't, a spray park coming up short and wanting more, and we're not going to come back again to want more. This is something that I agree is certainly a good to have, not required. Kind of an unbudgeted thing, I guess, that just, I do agree would be nice to have. So it'd be so much cheaper to have now instead of trying to add something later or regretting later. So yeah, that's all.
Director Snow?
I guess I've got a strong recommendation for it from a health and safety perspective. It is a preferred practice, and certainly they do not have to. It's not a requirement by the public health to include that, but it also depends on where you install the spray park. And bottom reality is we're in a rural area where we get a lot of debris and dirt that would fly through that system. The rainfall diverter allows us to gather that up as well. We're looking at increased maintenance, and that is increased cost for us to operate long-term. And I give the analogy very similar to the pool. At the time we constructed the pool, we were not required to put anti-entrapment drains in the pool. It was not part of the regulations at that time, but we did. Council made the decision because it was a preferred practice on the health and safety, and 2 years later, they actually made it mandatory. So I can see that eventually they may put this as a mandatory requirement, but right now it's definitely a recommendation that came from myself working with the spray park committee, that I saw it as a long-term maintenance cost and a water quality in regards to if something gets trapped into that tank, it's going to come right through the system onto those children using the park. So we want to make sure we've got the best product.
Okay, got it. Questions, Councillor Bowden? You're unmuted. I'm assuming you probably have a question. Yeah.
Right.
No. It's just, yeah, you're unmuted. So I just kind of watched that. That's
yes. Good. No, thank you. Yeah, I agree with the having the system. I believe in CAO's comments, there was the committee members do not want to sacrifice a substantial portion of the water play features for the debris and rainwater control system. So I'm just wondering how many features would be sacrificed if the committee were to have to pay for that themselves.
Kim, or
I'm not sure, maybe Councillor Olson would have the details on the contract. Whether $20,000 is probably one of the, would be probably, my guess is one of the larger main attraction features would have to be pulled.
And if I might add, with due respect, Councillor Olson, this spray park is not a large spray park by any means. I think when they're at the point where they have a very limited number of spray features, if they start taking features out to try and pay for the rainfall diverter, it will affect the quality of the park in terms of making it appealing to the kids and the public to use. So they've really pared it down. They've done a good job, in my opinion, of trying to keep it on budget and within reason. I've made the comment that the spray park is just like a playground with water features. And that's exactly what they've done. I think it's going to blend into the area well. And they've really worked hard to do that. So one of the features they have is the big bucket. It's a huge success with kids to get under the bucket dump. Well, if they pulled that, basically we're left with a few little spray features and bubblers on the ground that wouldn't have much appeal. And I think you still want a little bit of a wow factor when you're doing the project. So,
okay, Councillor Olson.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment that that would be slightly less than, you know, a large feature on there. I believe the large buckets are around probably $20,000. Like the big bulk of it is the cement work. That's the biggest prices, the pumps, and then the cement after that. So yeah, it would certainly take away. We've stripped away several times from this just to keep it responsible and, you know, as things come in.
There's also indication in Director Snell's report that the spray park group is still receiving donations.
Yes, Councillor Bowden, we're trying to assist the committee to look for additional funding. As you can imagine, that's pretty limited in this day and time right now with COVID. But I've made the commitment that we will definitely assist them looking for grants at any time. And they're still working with local businesses, those that are able to participate. I don't get the feeling at all from the committee that they've walked away from the project. But I very definitely said we need to look at this cost up front. And so it was my recommendation in consultation with talking with our CAO that this should be brought to council now, as opposed to leaving it to see if they could or couldn't raise funds, maybe put it in or maybe not. I don't get a sense at all that the committee is walking away from the project. They want to see it go through and they're willing to do more.
I'm going to stop it because that's not the point. The point is whether we're, you know, the motion is on the table. So and any further questions regarding the motion?
Can I have this as a voted?
Can you have?
I'm sorry, a recorded vote?
Recorded vote? You sure can.
Thank you.
So just when we ask for the vote, I'd ask that you hold your hands up long enough so that Rhonda can capture that, please. Any further comments or questions regarding this motion? Seeing none, I will call the question. All in favor? Opposed? That motion is carried. All right, that takes us to 9.04, Halo Air Ambulance Letter of Support. I would entertain a motion that council authorize the mayor to send a letter of support to Halo Air Ambulance in their request for equitable funding from the province of Alberta for their air ambulance service. Thank you, Councillor Deadlock. I know I've been in several meetings. I know we've all kind of read this, but Halo, for those of you who don't know, is a very similar air ambulance service as STARS is, and they've been fighting for years and years. I think ever since I have been the mayor, going to the east or southeast Alberta mayors and reeves, they've been fighting the province for equitable funding for this for years and years and years. So I know it's, you know, I don't know if it's an equivalent service or you know, as far as that goes, because they're not in our region, but they are asking that some of the other municipalities within the region authorize this letter of support. Kim, if you wanted to add anything.
Mr. Mayor, I don't know if I can have a ton, as I said in the report, we're kind of, and I don't use this word maybe the right way, we're kind of afterthoughts in this process. They're not in the town of Hannah's coverage area. We are covered by STARS. They are in the coverage area of special areas. And I think that Cypress County did set up this meeting last week, and I think Councillor Olson and Councillor Deadlock were invited, and I was invited, couldn't attend, but they didn't let us know, or didn't let me know till 8:30 the same morning. I'm not sure when Councillor Deadlock and Councillor Olson were aware, but I know Councillor Deadlock for sure attended. I'm not sure if Councillor Olson did. We're not, as you look at their spreadsheet, we're not included in their funding formula. I don't believe there was any expectation that there was funding coming from the town of Hannah, but Councillor Deadlock can confirm that. But I believe just any letter of support would be beneficial in their cause.
You're exactly correct there. They aren't expecting funds, but they do want the support. I'm not sure what their area is, but they do cover part of special areas too, which a lot of us do travel in. So support, I think, letter of support is all we really need to do with it.
Councillor Campion, you had a question?
Yeah, just a comment, being on the edge of their perimeter of their area, I'm sure that if Jordan Christensen had a serious medical condition, was in our Hannah Hospital, Halo was available, they'd be here to get him. So I'm all in support of this.
Okay, thank you. Any further comments, questions regarding the letter of support? Seeing none, I will call the question. All in favor? And that is carried. That takes us to 9.04, Town of Hannah COVID-19 operating plan update. Let's just turn it over to Mr. Neal and be as succinct as we possibly can. Let's not get down any rabbit holes, because it'd be really easy with the announcement that came out today at about 3:30. But we'll just let's keep it as brief as we can and just hit some highlights.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, when we're done, I have a resolution, a different resolution that I will read out that's different than the one that was in your package. As I said to the mayor and I put in my report, I knew that there was an announcement coming. I knew it was probably going to blow up this plan, and it did. So I guess at this stage, Mr. Mayor, what we're looking at is obviously with the phase 2 relaunch, recreation facilities from our perspective are now included in the phase 2 launch with different restrictions. So what I would suggest,
I guess Kim can maybe just a really short update for those who don't know what was announced today. Like it's this Friday on the phase 2, so it's moved up a week. Maybe if you want to just
Okay,
a really
so-
short.
okay,
Yeah.
so phase 2 was initially anticipated for June 19th. Because of the success that we've had so far with COVID, province has moved up phase 2 to start June 12th, so a week earlier than anticipated. But the thing that's been the big change is they've basically taken some things in phase 3, which they didn't have a timeline for, and moved into the phase 2. And that's where the recreation facilities come in. So as of June 12th, if we were prepared, we could open our swimming pool. We could open Centennial Place. We can open the arena. We can open the community center, again, with some restrictions. So what I'd like to do, Mr. Mayor, is we need some time to digest the information we got. Certainly the interesting thing on the pool side, when I pulled out the guidance, they say no public swimming. So public swimming is in phase 3. So kind of caught me off guard, but they're looking at your pool wanting to only be available for lessons, team sports, what was the other one? Lane swim, those types of things. They do not want drop-ins or public swimming.
Cohort rentals?
Cohort rentals would be fine. So again, this is their first kick at the cat. I can see this changing as we move forward, and probably we need to get some clarification around that. I was shocked when I saw no public swimming. But, you know, I think from their perspective, they're thinking the other stuff, whether it's lessons, whether it's lane swim, whether it's water polo, rental, then you've got a list of people who've been in the pool, or a pretty good idea of who was in the pool in case they need to do any tracing. With the drop-in and with the public swimming, you don't necessarily have that detailed list of who was in the pool at that time. And I think maybe that might be one of their concerns. But I was really shocked when I read through that. I know the community gets excited when they hear pools are open. And then when you read the details, it's right at the very end of the details in the guidance. So I was a little shocked by that. But we want to take some time, Mr. Mayor, to put a plan together, figure out what we can do, how we can do it, when we can have it up and operating by. And we'd like to, and I know nobody wants to have another meeting, but we'd like to hopefully next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, if there's some time, we can have a special council meeting. We can bring the plan to you that outlines how it can open, what we're looking at, and what sort of costs that would be incurred that the budget would have to be amended for. We do have some flexibility in our budget to be able to accommodate it. So that's the good news. And I think I want to leave you with the direction that we're going to bring back a plan to open the facility. We're not going to try and bring back a plan to close the facility or keep it closed. Our intention administratively is to bring a plan that would allow the facility to open. And again, in terms of timing, you know, if we got the go ahead tonight and we said, let's go, we could probably have the pool open in a week. We would like to basically say we need a little more time than that, and we're targeting potentially the end of June to have it open maybe the last weekend in June prior to Canada Day and moving forward. And there may be the potential to even keep it open a little bit longer in the fall, because a lot of our students may not be going back to school, or they're doing it in an online fashion, so they won't actually have to relocate from Hannah. So we just want a little bit of time to work through it, but our intention is to bring back a report that says we would open and this is how we can open. So that's the pool side, and I'll go through my spiel and then you guys can answer any questions. Centennial Place will be looking at the same thing. I did get a couple calls today about the pool, and I was surprised we didn't get any calls about the fitness center being open, but I'm sure they'll be coming. So we're going to put together a plan too on how that looks. That'll probably be easier, but we may have to control the people in the fitness center. For example, our fitness center is not big, and if you look at the guidance, they're saying on treadmills, ellipticals, where you're exerting yourself, that you should have at least 3 meters in between pieces of equipment. Well, you take 3 meters in between there, you're running out of room in that space. So we might have to limit it to individuals or cohort families or cohort members to work through that. But we'll also look at how we can open up the field house, how we can open up the walking track. The other concern we have too with it is still, you're only supposed to have a maximum of 50 people in the building. So we got to keep that in under control as well. Community center can be opened for crowds of up to 50 people, or if they're seated for a performance, 100. We don't, if you look at our list, the only thing that we have that might fit that category that's not town related is our jamboree. And I've talked to the organizer, I've talked to the mayor. Even with the restriction or the loosening of the restrictions today, they can't have their jamboree in the community center the same way they would do. It's just the nature of their activity and the number of people they have. So I don't think there's any necessarily ray of light there, but who knows in 2 weeks or 3 weeks what may come down what might come down the road. The other thing, Mr. Mayor, just on camping, because I know that was one of our concerns. So the changes, there have been some changes to campgrounds. So you now can open up group camping as of today. And picnic shelters, which I would consider our shelter to be, can be opened to a maximum of 50 people in the shelter. Again, the key thing is physical distance. They always say, I don't know how you're going to police physical distance. That's the biggest challenge with all this. Even at the swimming pool, physical distance, you know, so we are going to have a different recommendation, and it's not going to be to close facilities until the end of July. So if there's any questions, we're prepared to answer. We're going to put a plan together and bring it back to council. We will need to find a date that works for people and set that up, but we are going to work under the intention that we're going to try and get the pool open, Centennial Place open for sure. Community center, we'll play it by ear, but and of course, group camping now at Fox Lake is permissible.
Okay, Mr. Neal, I think what I'll do is I think I'm just going to go in order again, like we did with Sergeant Spurley, and just let, I think all of council probably have some questions. So we will start with Councillor Olson, and we'll follow that by Councillor Deadlock. Councillor Olson.
For the things like no drop-ins for the rec center and the pool, do they have, like, it's so great. Like, can we suddenly create a Hannah swim club and it just costs you $3 to join when you stop by? Like, is there parameters? Like, I'm not looking
There's
to break the rule, but it's great.
At this point in time, there's no parameters, there's no definitions. That may come forward in the next few days. I know they just rolled it out today. As I said to somebody, I think they weren't necessarily focused on municipal pools, because I don't think there were a ton of municipalities out there asking the province to open up these facilities. But I think there was a number of private businesses that have YMCAs, people who have gyms, fitness centers that want it open. And as I mentioned to somebody today, the Y doesn't care about drop-in swimming. They don't care about public swimming. They care about teaching lessons, having a place for their members to work out and do those types of things. So I'm sure every municipality that has a pool is asking the same questions we are today. And I'm sure that there'll be some clarifications coming forward on how we move forward in this regard, because I was quite frankly shocked when I read that. So.
Yeah, that's all I have. We'll wait and see.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Olson. That takes us to Councillor Deadlock, and then we'll have Councillor Campion. Councillor Deadlock.
I've had quite a few people contacting me in regards to the pool. Is this guidelines, or is it set fast rules that we have to follow?
I think it's right now it's fairly steadfast. They say that drop-in swimming and public swimming are not permissible. So it's not a guideline. Okay. They're saying it's not permissible.
Okay. Some of the contacts I had just gave me a few different suggestions. No slide, no tables and chairs, no change rooms. Use the family change rooms. Have one of the staff that isn't out on deck cleaning the bathroom, because you have to have a bathroom. They're willing to do whatever they have to use the pool. And I think having the less touch spots, the better.
And definitely thank you for that. The water slides right now are a no-go. In their package. Anything water slides, wave pools, anything are right now a no-go. So the water slide, if nothing changes, would have to be closed off, blocked off. And so, yeah, we'd have to look forward to see how we set up benches, how we set things up. You know, so we got a little bit of work ahead of us to figure out how that could be laid out. I'm confident we can do that. Yeah. And I'm confident that we can open and, open safely.
And Director Schnell, do you have any issues with staffing, or is everybody pretty ready to go?
I've been in contact with our pool manager already. She's had contact from staff. They're all pretty excited with the announcement. I did speak briefly with Lacey Rose, and we talked about looking at some of the challenges within the guidelines. So, for example, you've already talked about the drop-in and the public swim. What came to my mind was it maybe is more reference to indoor pools. I'm not sure. And I think there's a way that we can manage the spacing in our facility. And we've already talked about closure times or how we manage cleaning in between groups. So I think we've got a fairly good group of staff and to come back, and they're already thinking about solutions. One of the items that we can do is camps. So they're looking at maybe we should run a camp and call it a swimming camp and do some coaching. We don't have an issue with having more than 50 people on the inside of that deck. So we can have fitness classes. So I think there's good opportunity there. And I'm confident that our staff will be working with us with senior administration to come up with some really good solutions.
Yeah, and I like Councillor Olson's comments about having some different groups, teams, that kind of stuff, water polo for kids, all that kind of stuff. I think that's a good start to get going with.
The comment I did hear from staff right away was, and from our pool manager, Lacey, was that they were willing to do whatever it took to have that facility open and see it active and people being able to use it.
Yeah.
So that if there's no swim team, they're willing to run a summer swim camp, for example, for kids. So when you mention a polo camp, they're not against doing that at all.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Exact same scenarios golfers were about a month ago with they'll do anything they can to get the golf course open. Okay, thank you, Councillor Deadlock. That takes us to Councillor Campion, followed by Councillor Stickle.
Yeah, just comment, get her open as soon as possible. I don't want them down swimming at Carroll side where they will be in the way of my boat when I'm fishing, so get her open.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Campion. Then we have Councillor Stickle, followed by Councillor Bowden. Councillor Stickle.
Yes, I've been asked, what about the gun show? Is there a possibility there?
I don't believe so yet, Councillor Stickle. They've actually canceled their show. They contacted us and said they'd canceled their show. Again, they would be indoors. They would be susceptible to only 50 people. It's certainly a different picture today than it was a month ago when they made the decision. If they came back to us and said they wanted to explore it, we certainly would work with them. But I think that probably what's happened with the circuit is most of the gun shows have probably been canceled. And they were supposed to have theirs mid-July, third week in July, so a little over a month away. I don't know if we'll see too many more changes. They generally make their changes and allow 2 or 3 weeks just to see how the case is gone and whether there's been any impacts. But if there's interest from the gun club in pursuing an opening, even opening up a different weekend, we'll certainly be willing to explore that with them.
All right, thank you.
Good comment. Okay, now we'll go to Councillor Bowden and then Councillor Jensen.
I'm just wondering, does this allow for sort of a reduction in some of the restrictions with the golf course? As far as
I'm sorry, I missed that.
people utilizing the golf carts, or just allow more like food services within the golf club and things of that nature?
I'll let Councillor Olson answer that.
I just had a look earlier and I haven't read through the whole thing, but on the province's website, the latest update was June 4th. So it hasn't changed anything since their phase 2 relaunch. But I haven't gone through the whole thing yet, but we haven't made any changes there. Leagues are open, bathrooms are open now. The food service plays by the same rules as any restaurant. So it's a counter pickup. They set the food, you go grab your food. The social distancing, the half capacity on the deck as well. It's so I'm going to go through that a little deeper tonight and just see exactly what's changed.
One thing that may happen, Councillor Olson, is as part of phase 2, bars and restaurants are now, as of Friday, permitted to be at full occupancy. So that might be a change that you can incorporate in your food service side anyways.
Yeah, that's all I had. Just
Okay.
looking like more opportunity for the golf course.
Yeah, and I think, you know, I haven't been up there a whole bunch. I've golfed a little bit, but you know, it's been quite busy. I seems like busier than it normally is, like on the actual golf course, and you know, you're not generating any more revenue because each person has their own cart. But I think that might be part of it too, because you see way more golf courses out because it's not 2 per cart. So, but it seems like it's busier than it normally is any other year. But they're handling it very well. I've been up a few times, and I know the ladies' league, which happens on Tuesday nights, has been really busy. Of course, with no slow pitch on, so a lot of the ladies that would normally play slow pitch now are taking up another sport, which is good for the golf course. But yeah, that's good. Thank you for that. Good question. We'll go to Councillor Jensen.
I don't really have any questions at this time. I look forward to having an opportunity to review the guidelines and the town's plan, and I'll ask my questions then.
Awesome. Okay, I just have one comment that's actually kind of a funny one. I noticed in looking through the research that concerts are allowed as long as they're instrumental concerts. So being in the band of Garrett Gregory, it really relieves us that we don't have to deal with him at our next concert. So that's just a little inside joke, and I've already texted him that, so he's fired basically. Anyway, so Kim, you said you had a different resolution that you'd like to read? Okay. Yeah,
I do have a different resolution, but maybe before we get to it, what are everybody's schedules for Wednesday morning next week?
Time?
I was thinking 8:30.
Or 9. I
Or
mean, I know
9?
these guys, it doesn't matter to me. I'm wide open. I know Councillor Campion likes to get his beauty sleep. Oh, he's not listening. He didn't even hear that. He's looking for his calendar.
Now Wednesday morning is good for me at 8:30.
I'm pretty confident I can book time off.
Councillor Campion, 8:30 good for you? Yeah. Councillor Stickle? Yeah, I guess you have your consensus. I don't have a say. I'm just the guy who runs the meeting, so.
Okay, so I'll read the recommendation then.
Okay, so this is going to be the resolution.
Yes.
We'll entertain a motion that Kim says.
That council accepts the Town of Hannah COVID-19 operating plan update dated June 9th, 2020 for information, and direct administration to prepare plans, including budget adjustments required to open facilities in conjunction with stage 2 of the province of Alberta relaunch strategy for the COVID-19 recovery plan. So that would be the first motion.
Okay, who would like to make that motion? Thank you, Councillor Stickle. All in favor? That is carried. And further, I would entertain a motion that
council schedule a special council meeting on June 17th, 2020 at 8:30 a.m. to determine the strategy for opening Town of Hannah facilities following stage 2 of the provincial relaunch strategy.
Thank you, Councillor Deadlock. All in favor? And that is carried. Awesome. Thank you for that, Kim. You didn't have a third motion, did you? Because
no.
You're on such a roll. You're doing a good job there, so I appreciate it. Okay, good job, folks. Councillor Olson, you have a question, comment?
Are we going to do it in person, or what's the plan? So I can't see why we can't. Other than a facility big enough, I guess, if we got to do social distancing.
I'd say for ease, I don't know what's everybody's. It might be just easier to do it this way since we're kind of. It won't be a very long meeting, I don't think, will it? Do you think?
I don't anticipate.
Like an hour-ish. I don't know. Just for ease, let's go Zoom again. Is that okay with everyone? Yeah. This way. Okay. Yeah. Good. Awesome. Okay. Good question though. Thanks, Councillor Olson. Okay, that takes us to 9.06 Hannah Business Hub Summer Outdoor Seating Proposal. I would entertain a motion that council direct administration to set up a process that will allow businesses located on the 100 block of 2nd Avenue West to use the use of on-street parking stalls adjacent to their property for outdoor seating areas, subject to the following conditions. 1, each business submits a plan to the town of Hannah identifying what space they would like to occupy, dates and times, copy of liability insurance, and their plan to barricade the on-street space. 2, the respective business will be responsible for providing and taking down their respective barricades. 3, the respective business will be responsible for cleaning up any garbage that is created as a result of the use of the outdoor space. Thank you, Councillor Deadlock. All right, let's go to, we did have our presentation. Kim, I don't know if you had anything further you wanted to comment on, or Director Mole, because I would imagine that would fall into your department. Sorry, I ran out of breath there.
I don't know if there's anything more to add. Our initial concern right off the hop was just liability. The issue of an accident happening is probably minimal or rare, but if it did, it would probably be significant. So that was our concern. I believe if the businesses are able to provide insurance with the town as an additional named insured, takes care of that. And we would like to see a plan so that we can provide some feedback, comments on whether we think there can take, a little bit more proactive step. The other thing off the top of my head I would encourage is maybe not putting seating and chairs out the full length of the parking stall. Maybe put the barriers out at the full length of the parking stall, and then, have the seating inside that removed, just in case somebody doesn't see it and tries to turn in. It buys them a little bit of grace. But other than that, I think it's a great idea, a great initiative. I did not address the second phase, Mr. Mayor, in this report, because I really don't see an issue with blocking off the street. We do that now. We would basically probably have a permit filled out saying when they would block it off from what time to what time on dates and who was responsible, and we would promote that. But blocking off the entire street, in my mind, is much safer and easier, because we have to do that when we're doing water and sewer repairs or whatever, and people will see the barricades, they'll turn around and turn and go a different route. So I think we're okay. I think Councillor Adrian might have a couple of comments too.
Yeah, I see Director Mole has some comments. Yes.
Yeah, I was just going to concur with Mr. Neal with the visibility. In my mind, is the biggest issue. So as long as there's something that is fairly catchy, at least for the eye of the driver, that may inadvertently make an attempt to enter into those parking spaces, something is there to stop that. And I like the idea. I think it's great. It's just my first concern when I heard about it was the liability issue for the community, to make sure that we're covered on that. And I'd like to, I think if they follow through with the plans for that, I think we'll be okay, and hopefully nothing will happen. So.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Bowden.
I also really like the idea. I'd like to see some definite instructions on how people can ensure that the barricades for their little unit is going to be secured, and just so that everybody's on the same playing field, and that there is no question as to the safety involved.
Okay, good comment.
Yeah.
Any further comments from council? I have just a couple of things that you may want to consider. Obviously, is a distance from the curb that the tables could be set up out towards the street. I guess that might just make things easier. I'm not telling you how to do your job. Actually, I am, but that's okay. You might want to put in there, though, a provision for a temporary deck situation that would come out from the curb, perhaps for, with a railing system or something along that line. You might want to consider something along that line as well in your parameters. That's your job, that's not mine, but I've just seen it in other municipalities where they've had like a deck system that can be moved off the street and then put back in at a time. So that might be something else to consider in your provisions, when you're reviewing that. But that's really all I have to say. So any wrap up or anything that Kim or Adrian you'd like to?
Just Mr. Mayor, as Tammy indicated, even for us, it's a bit of a work in progress and a pilot project. So we may find after we've done it a week or one time, we might say, oh, okay, I think we should adjust and maybe we could do this. So it will be a little bit of a work in progress from our perspective as well. And we'll work with the businesses and with the hub to, make sure if we have any particular commitments that they're aware of it as they move forward. But I think we'll learn through the process as well as the hub will and any businesses that may want to try it. So we didn't want to stifle creativity and energy. And I think liability was our first concern. So.
Okay, awesome. Any last questions? All right, I'll call a question. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Seeing none, that is carried. That takes us to 9.7, disposal of surplus assets. I would entertain a motion that council authorize the chief administrative officer to offer for sale and advertise locally items determined to be surplus to the operation of the town of Hannah on an as-is basis by sealed bids accepted at the town office until Monday, June 29, 2020 at 1 p.m. Okay, thank you, Councillor Olson. Is Kim still here at my screen? Oh, there you are.
Lori's messing around with me.
Yeah, that's good. Actually, I like it that way better. I can't see you, so it's really good.
I have a face. I have a face for radio. Is what you're saying?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. The floor is yours, Kim.
So the only thing I want to add, Mr. Mayor, is this morning, Director Snell was in conversation with the pickleball group and talking about this project because we know if we move forward there, they're going to have to relocate. So they were just in discussion and they basically, one of the suggestions was, well, those boards might be okay for a farmer who wants to line the inside of a shop or a Quonset or something. So we are probably going to take those boards and just add them to our surplus list. If we get someone who's interested in them and take them, great. We thought they would probably be mostly junk, but if somebody wants it, we'll take it.
Is anybody else lost? What part of this are you talking about?
So the surplus items.
Yes.
So you have the list in the background.
Yes.
So we're wanting to add the outdoor rink boards to that list.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
That's what I didn't understand.
Okay.
You just said pickleball. And I didn't.
Yes.
Oh, okay, thank you. Okay, good.
So that's all I have.
It's just an addition to the list that's there. Okay, awesome. Director Snell.
I just wanted to assure council that we've got volunteer help. The Elks have volunteered to help us remove those boards. And this morning, the pickleballers, they indicated there'd be a few of them that would help. That board has a tendency to go brittle with age. So if we find when we're taking it off, it's not good, we'll dispose of it, but we'll set it up so they can put it on pallets. If we get a few bucks for it, it'll help with the overall costs. And by the way, the arena boards are sitting in the arena ready to go. So we'll have some people anxious to see them up. So
excellent. Awesome. That's good. Any questions regarding the surplus items? I just have a comment, being that this is my bread and butter, my business. It's not a weed whacker. It is a string trimmer. Thank you very much. You do what you want. Most people probably don't know what a string trimmer is. All right, so I will call the vote. All in favor? That is carried. Sorry, that's just my life. That's 40. That's what 40 years of being in the hardware business will get you. Let's go to 9.08, 2nd Avenue Pedestrian Concerns Public Engagement Plan. I would entertain a motion that council accept the traffic-pedestrian concerns for 2nd Avenue and 2nd Street West Public Participation Plan for information. Like somebody, yeah, thanks, Councillor Jensen. Kim.
So, Mr. Mayor, just wanted to bring this to your attention. We had talked about moving forward on this. We've started to get some time now to do that. So we are going to start next week rolling out information on this and a survey. And then we'll get that out there. We've provided some options that we've come up with, but it's open-ended if there's some other options that others would want to see in the survey or brought forward. The only thing that I would add that at this point in time, the solar crosswalk is still an option, but the costs were higher than what we anticipated. So that will ultimately have to be parlayed into council's decision-making process as we move forward. Hopefully we'll get some good feedback on it. As I've mentioned to people, I see more significant speeds now with the street basically being empty. It has a positive that there's no vehicles that are blocking your vision, but the speeds are quicker, and we'll have to see. I have a feeling that the public engagement process will come back and people will be not wanting to do anything because it will impact, it has an impact on a few people potentially, and people will not want to be bothered to be inconvenienced by having another stop or crosswalk light or slow to speed. But ultimately that'll be a decision council will have to take into matter and in terms of what they think is the best solution. But we'll get some feedback from the public and see how that goes.
Okay, Director Armstrong. You didn't expect me to be that quick, did you? I did.
No, I didn't. And I thought you could press your space bar. Is
If
that
you-
the-
If that's the last thing you've done by clicking, then you can space bar, yes.
I don't know. It doesn't work for me.
I'm the tech guy, so yeah.
I just want to point out or make a comment that this was prepared before the phase 2 announcement and before I was aware of the asset disposal information. So the timeline is based on it going live this week to allow all the proper times to get the public participation piece so that it can come back to council in July for their meeting. So I'm going to do my best to stick to that, but I am going to add a caveat that it may not be until the August meeting, just because of all the changes coming down on us.
Good, thank you. Any further comments, questions? I know, as you know, being on council for as many years as I have, and I think Councillor Campion and Councillor Stickle have been, this isn't the first time the concerns of this intersection have come up, and you might be surprised at how many people are maybe in favor of doing something with it. And I just one question, I guess, for Kim. I don't know, do you just sit out your window and watch cars go by? Is that what you do in that office? Never mind. Don't answer. Don't
Come
answer.
sit in my chair.
Don't answer, because remember, the only people that can fire you are the ones on the call. So that's good. Well done. Okay, so with that, I will call the question. All in favor? And that is carried. All right, that takes us to our 10.01 tax payment bylaw. I would entertain a motion that council give first reading to bylaw 1011-2020, the tax payment bylaw. Thank you, Councillor Campion. All in favor? That is carried. I would entertain a motion that council give second reading to bylaw 1011-2020, the tax payment bylaw. Thank you, Councillor Stickle. Do you want to speak to this? Is just what we spoke about at our last meeting, correct, Mr. Neal?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the simple change is basically council made a decision to lower the penalties on unpaid taxes. So previously they were 8% September 1st, 8% October 1st, and then 10%, a penalty of 10% levied on all outstanding taxes effective January 1. So this bylaw reduces those penalties in half to 4%, 4%, and 5%.
Only for this year due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Well, at this point, that'll be,
Would have to rescind it
we'd
or,
have to, yeah, next year. Council may choose next year to want to keep the same penalties in place, so.
okay, fair enough. Any questions? We're good? Okay, because we can just go right into, all right, I will call the question. All in favor? That is carried, and we will need unanimous decision to give it third and final reading. So I would entertain a motion that council provide unanimous consent for third reading of bylaw 1011-2020, the tax payment bylaw at this meeting. Thank you, Councillor Olson. All in favor? That is unanimous. That is carried. And with that, I would entertain a motion that council give third and final reading to bylaw 1011-2020, the tax payment bylaw. Thank you, Councillor Jensen. All in favor? And that is carried. Well done, folks. Okay,
So,
we're going to go. Oh,
one thing, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
So just so you know, with this decision, tax notices will be going out hopefully by Friday. So they'll be out in the mail and people will have till the end of August before they get a penalty.
excellent. Awesome. Thank you. Okay, let's do council reports and roundtable. I'm going to go reverse order from my screen from what we've been doing. So we're going to start with Councillor Jensen, followed by Councillor Bowden. So Councillor Jensen, we will turn the floor to you. Thank you.
I don't think I have anything to add to my report.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Councillor Jensen? Okay, then we'll go to Councillor Bowden, followed by Councillor Stickle. Councillor Bowden, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I have nothing else to offer.
Okay. Any questions for Councillor Bowden? Okay, thank you. Oh, Councillor Olson has a question.
I just had a quick question with the medical clinic. Have they noticed things kind of have calmed down? Like, I mean, they're still going through the intense protocols, of course, as they need to, but like, are we finally able to breathe a little bit? I know Dr. Fortner's reports have slowed down. They just haven't had much to update.
I think they have, with the government kind of repealing their decision with the doctors and that sort of thing, I think is the biggest issue. And I think that has kind of calmed down for a while, and see if it will follow through. I believe right now things are going well. We haven't had a meeting in a little bit, aside from doing some of the internal business, but seems to be going smoothly. And that's why Dr. Fortner has reduced to 2 times, well, every second week in her presentation. So things are slowing down a little bit. I don't believe there has been any other cases that have come forward at all. So thanks to everyone's due diligence in following protocol.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think we're all happy that they were able to get a decision rolled back and get some sanity back. Thanks.
Yeah, that was a really touchy spot, and thank goodness that has been resolved to some extent. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, just a comment. I don't know if you noticed, but if you follow the cases every day or on COVID and on the government site, Central Zone went from 96 to 86 overnight. So I was watching the Town of Drumheller Council meeting the other night, and they were talking about COVID, and Dr. Ram indicated that they had been changed to 0 cases. So I looked at ours today, and so if you go on the geospatial map for Special Areas 2, we're at 0 now. 0 cases, 0 recovered, 0 death. So I don't know what changed or how it changed, but just an interesting tidbit that now they're saying we never had a case in Special Areas 2. So I don't know how it changed. Maybe Lori seems to know a little more.
She would know. If anybody would, she would know.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I just have a little bit, but Dr. Fortner, I do have a video in my possession. I have had it since 1 o'clock this afternoon, but I haven't had a chance to do anything with it. So I will be doing that after the meeting and sending the link to Alberta Health Services. So hopefully it gets approved tomorrow morning and it can be made public. But in the interim, the clinic has from what I understand, change procedure just a little bit. I think they're allowing, don't quote me on this, but I think they're allowing a couple of patients in the clinic at a time now so that they can maintain social distancing. When I say don't quote me on it, I mean, I don't know how many or what their criteria is around that. And she also is it will address in her video the reason why we are showing as 0 cases. They're changing the mapping a little bit or something. Anyway, she will be talking about that.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Okay. Any further questions? Awesome. Thank you, Councillor Bowden. That takes us to Councillor Stickle. The floor is yours, then Councillor Campion.
I would just like to add, as far as the clinic, my wife works there, as you're all aware, and she says the last week or two has really been busy. They're getting more and more people coming back to the clinic now that it's kind of relaxed a bit. I would also like to add that Dr. Hanna lost his brother to COVID. He is in Egypt, I believe it is, but he passed away from COVID yesterday. So we may be losing Dr. Hanna for a while. I don't know how long he'll be gone, but I'm sure he's going to take some time off. As far as the lodge, the rules have been eased off a bit. Some of the people that aren't supposed to be are out traveling around, but no, we had one staff that was being tested for COVID come back negative, so things are back to the way they were. So we're trying to get more residents moving in as we speak. So other than that,
just running around, right?
Yep.
Awesome. Any questions for Councillor Stickle? Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Campion and then Councillor Deadlock. Councillor Campion, the floor is yours.
I have nothing further to add. I haven't planned what we're doing with the Big Country Waste meeting schedule for next week. I don't really know what's going to happen there yet, so that's all I know right now.
Okay. Any questions for Councillor Campion? Okay, thank you for that. So Councillor Deadlock and then Councillor Olson.
I just have one change. The chamber AGM date has been changed to June 24th. Men's League Golf kind of took up that spot, and we kind of need our president to be there. So it'll be Google Meets at 7:30 on June 24th. And other than that, that's it.
Awesome. Thank you. Any questions for Councillor Deadlock? Okay, and I'll just add that the president is actually on my golf team, so he better show up for golf. That's important. Thank you very much, Councillor Deadlock. Okay, Councillor Olson.
I guess the only thing to add was a discovery at the end of our Learning Center meeting. I'll have the same little spouting off, but houses around town seem to be selling. Used to be the houses less than 100,000 would sell for obvious reasons. They're cheap and easy. We're starting to see more of that go. I think people are discovering, a house 160,000 and under now are being sold successfully. And it's people that have realized remote work is capable from a place that has good internet. And on that same note, Sundry is having some struggles. Their medical clinic is really suffering because they do not have reliable internet. Their doctors are having a very hard time with Zoom meetings, with various issues there. There's also the potential at industry, from what I've heard, and industry looked and went, oh, you don't have fiber internet. They didn't step another step further. So, I mean, that was a move from previous council to get that in there. And I think it is going to pay off. I think we're going to see it more and more with this remote work as people realize they don't want to be in debt forever. So I think it's a good sign. It's a slow game, but I think it'll be a way for Hannah to at least succeed a little more.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Any questions for Councillor Olson? Okay, for me, it was very quiet, which was kind of nice. I didn't mind that at all. The interview I did with the Winnipeg Free Press, I did get a copy of the article. I'll forward it off to everyone. It's nothing too spectacular, but it's kind of using Hannah as again like a diaspora of what's happening across the whole nation. So nothing earth shattering there. We have been, I don't know for any of you who knew, we were trying to do we're going to do a Facebook Live video last week, and just kind of started with, there's only a couple of questions that we had, so we decided we might want to just postpone that, knowing that the province was going to announce what they announced today. So Lori and Kim and myself will kind of come up with some kind of a script for tomorrow or Thursday, and we will do I'll do a video update or a Facebook Live, whichever one. Since we're not going to have people asking questions live, just a video, and we'll get that posted hopefully by the end of Thursday with any luck, just with some updates just regarding the pool and that, just to kind of get the residents up to speed on what's going on within the community. And with that, if there's any questions for me, I would take them at this point in time. Awesome, you guys are the best, never any pressure. With that, I would entertain a motion that council reports be accepted. Oh, council.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to thank you for doing your videos as well, Mr. Mayor, and keeping people informed and that sort of thing. So thank you very much for doing that and speaking on our behalf.
No problem at all. I know it's been tough. Thank you for that. I really appreciate it. It's just been tough with, you come out with something and then the next day the province says something contradictory to what you just announced. So it's you don't want to be that guy. But so I think we're ahead of the curve a little bit this time. Thank you. We'll get something out as soon as we possibly can. So I do entertain a motion that council accepts the council reports for information. Thank you, Councillor Bowden. All in favor? That is carried. So I'm just going to run through the correspondence items, and then at the end, I'll ask if anybody has any comments or questions regarding any of them, and then we'll go from there. So we have 12.01, the Minister of Economic Development and Trade, response to the PEP letter. 12.02, Minister of Municipal Affairs, MSI allocation 2020 for the town of Hannah. 12.03, Prairie Land School Division board highlights for April 28th, 2020. 12.03, the AUPE letter dated May the 15th, 2020. 12.05, Chief Medical Officer to Health memo to municipalities for committee meetings. 12.06, Special Areas Board Chair 2020 Municipal Tax Transfers. And 12.07, AUMA RMA letter to the Premier regarding municipal operating funding. If anybody has anything they want to point out, that was a good time to do that. Just put your hand up and I'll. Yes, of course. Kim Neal, welcome to the game. Unmute your mic.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Mr. Mayor, just two things. The Special Areas Board Chair, just so you have something to compare to, Jordan had mentioned that due to their tax situation and some of the challenges they were facing, their transfers would not be what we have become accustomed to. So just basically our industrial tax transfer remains at the same as previous levels, but our rec transfer is probably going to be about $16,000 short of what we normally would get from special areas. So just to put it in context what that letter means. And the last thing I had, just a reminder about the IncineraTech open house is tomorrow. If you've got an appointment, make sure you remember to go to it. If you don't have an appointment, you may be able to contact Mark at the Business Hub, and he can probably fit you in somewhere. So it will be happening tomorrow. So
good. I know Dan Greenslade is going to take part in that. He had asked me about it. So it's good to see some of our local contractors being involved in that as well. So yeah, good point. Thank you. All right, if there's no other comments, questions regarding the correspondence items, I will entertain a motion that council accepts correspondence items 12.01 to 12.07 for information. Thank you, Councillor Campion. All in favor? That is carried. We have nothing for closed session. So with that, at 8:21, I will declare this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, folks. Well done. Excellent job. That we just keep getting a little bit shorter every meeting. So well done. Thank you. And we'll see you, marking your calendar, next Wednesday morning at 8:30.